Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk About Life podcast. I'm your host Addison. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. On today's episode, I will be sharing some personal topics of mine and hopefully giving you inspiration to try some of the things I talk about in today's episode. Let's get into it. Normally, I choose not to share overly personal things on here that I don't feel comfortable sharing, but today I thought I'd get a little outside my comfort zone and share with you something that has helped me and I hope can help you. Now, backstory, when I was little, I wanted to write a book. I wanted it to be mental health based. I wanted it to have fun characters and was able to reach kids from the ages of 2 or even younger that parents could read at bedtime to high school, and it would still be one book that people understood. And was made for all of the ages, so it wasn't too young for high school, but not too old for preschool either. And so I started on a Google Doc. It was like, okay, we're gonna write this. We can do it. And for a while, I have at least 2 pages in that Google Doc worth of writing. Characters did this or characters did that. However, as I continued to write and continued to come back to the Google Doc, I started to realize that these characters were more me. And they were like the real Addison story coming out on paper. When I was a kid, I feel like I'm going back a lot, but when I was younger than I am now, so elementary school, middle school, and I was still trying to figure out what anxiety was, how to deal with it, how to manage it, finding the resources, because at the time it was kind of confusing of what is this, what's going on, but I found myself drawing, and when I got into moments of spiraling and volcanoing, I would often draw myself in the middle of a blank piece of paper. And then from there, from my head, I would draw thought bubbles. And in those thought bubbles would be how I was feeling or what was going through my mind, what had happened that day, what had caused me anger, and so on and so forth. That was my easiest way of communication. Now at school, I can draw, but it's not usually the most easy thing. It can be weird or sometimes uncomfortable to take out a piece of paper and start doodling your thoughts and emotions. Like, I understand that. I still have a hard time doing that sometimes at school. So I turned to an online version. I turned to a Google Doc. This Google Doc was where I had started my story and thought, might as well just put my life in there and we'll see what happens, right? Maybe it'll become a story one day. But it ended up being my journal. This journal is now over 21 pages long. Many words, probably over at least 1,000 words. And it shares how I feel, when I was feeling this, who made me feel that way, what was going on in that situation. That's great, Addison, but why the 21 pages and over 1,000 words? Great question. I don't really know. I don't know the answer to that question. Because I truly just write. I think it's a good venting spot. I think that's where I often go to vent. I swear in there, I talk badly about people. Like, I dump it. But then it's also useful because I'm not carrying that weight on my backpack anymore. And I can kind of throw into the Google Doc, close my computer, walk away. Then I don't have to, then it's done. I have written it down, so if I need to go back to it, I have the ability to go back to it. I have the evidence. I write the date down. But it gives me space to vent freely without feeling judged or looked at or whatever it may be. It also is good for therapy sessions to look back on and say, hey, I was feeling this way on this day. Can we look at that again? Or, hey, I'm dealing with some family issues or friend issues or whatever it may be. Can we go back and I wrote some things about it? Can we review that? And I'm sure that they would love that too, because it gives them a spot to start or talking point if you're not sure what to talk about on that day of therapy. So basically, to sum that up, I use it more as a venting spot than I do anything. Now, for some of us, typing and writing isn't always the easiest. So my suggestion to you is, if that's a struggle, try it. Put some time and effort into it. Feel it out. Like, it took me a couple times to actually be like, okay, I kind of like this in my vibe. But if it doesn't stick with you, try doodling or going for a walk. Another thing that I like to do is challenging myself, or if an adult can challenge me, it's even better, by saying, like, I don't think you can do this by a certain time. And the only reason why that helps too is because it gets my brain more focused on what I was challenged to do and how long I was challenged to do it, versus the thing that I was previously focusing on, or what I was struggling with. To sum this podcast episode up, remember these things. I need you, tomorrow needs you, and in a world where you can be anything, be kind, be you, be awesome. We'll see you next time here on the Let's Talk About Life podcast.